Hello there, this is the guy that's still on his holidays and welcome to this video. So we're gonna just cut the chase and go into challenge 5 because I did the runs when I was traveling on my tour bus. So challenge 5 was done here. I think this is easily manageable with iron armors combos and with some adjustments to both the 1600 as well as 3200, you should be able to clear them with iron teams in general. So for the very first one, right, Sonorous Bell and Healing Hub are selected with 1600 points. So Sonorous Bell is this one, buffs as well as damage with the removal of control effects every 15 seconds, and then Healing Hub is healing and 20 vitality with additional heals as well as the immunity to fatal blow. So more stally by nature, so I think you could probably use a store comp if you're not using the same power-ups, but I do. But if you use Mechanics 1 and Mechanics 2, you are done with the 1600 points. And Mechanics 1 is actually quite easy to sort of negate by just using Iron to pull all the enemies away from their original starting tile. So the only unit that will go back to their original starting tile would be Hugin right here, because Hugin just goes back to the end view even though he's repositioned by other reposition skill. So this is where you can use Iron to easily negate static defense right here. So despite the opponent having Mighty Echo with the ability to reduce a whole bunch of damage, you basically can burst them down right after you pull them with Iron. And then even with the initial defense boost after that very first 35 instance, which is I'll say quite easy to remove with Bonnie's Decay's Reach, damage over time per second, you should be able to bring them down. So without further ado, let's start the battle. Just first 2 power up, and then we're gonna use Iron Armor's Burst with Bonnie right here, okay, with Thunder Strike spell. And without further ado, let's start the battle, okay? Because we have Sonorous Bell as well as the Hub to give us that inbound, and also in the event if the battle draws out a little bit longer, more than 15 seconds, we get that attack buff, right, to eventually burst the opponent from there. But the Healing Hub's inbound is actually decently good to just keep our front line alive right here, and then our back line will just do damage to remove the opponent pretty fast here. Okay, so this is team number 1. You can also use a store team, but you just got to add in an Iron into the mix, I'll say. Like what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my usual like store team idea with Yuwin as well as Damien right here. We're gonna throw in Iron, okay? So throw in the Iron to reposition the enemy. And in this case, right, I think we will not use limit. We'll just use Odie here. I think it works as well. So just reposition them with a little bit of store power from our increased heal and vitality. With our supports, we should still win the fight over here. Okay, so reposition them, remove the negation. Okay. Hewin should be able to pull off the ultimate. So having repositioned the enemy's unit, the static defense is no longer available for them. So this is where we're only dealing with their Healing Hub as well as the second plus 800 points ability. So this is just with Iron to pull them out, and then we have our sustain from the rest of the wilders, and then we are done. Okay, so the opponent has quite a fair bit of sustain, Smokey, Coco, and Hugin. But with your sustain as well as your OD burst, you should be able to clear the stage with this allied buff as well as the first 2 mechanics right here. Okay, now for the 3200 points one, it will be initial defense boost as well as range defense boost. So initial defense is this one, reduces enemies damage taken by 40%, and range defense increases enemies range defense by 50. So this will make range units a lot less effective, but after a few tries I realized that the Iron Armor's Burst comp still works. Might work if your units are already at the Supreme Plus tier with EX10, might not work if they are slightly understated, because you will need to burst through with enough damage before the opponent is able to come online. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put in the range defense we are gonna use the static defense because we're gonna use iron to reposition the enemy. We need initial defense if you want to clear through your stage quest over here. We are not gonna give energy on hit boost because if we give energy on hit boost, what will happen is Coco will get her ultimate off, Hugin will get the shielding off, and OD getting the ultimate off can also be a pain in the ass. So that will stall out the fight for really long when you combine that with Mighty Echo right here. So this is why we're not going to include this, okay? We are going to, however, include the second one, which gives us the vitality boost. So this will not be a problem if you are able to control the Smoky to reduce the healing efficiency, although there could be some shielding, but you kind of don't want to put the melee defense, because if you put this, what will happen is the melee damage as well as the range defense boost makes it such that your enemy is going to take less damage from both spectrums, right? So at the very least, you want one of them unticked so that your other side can still do damage. And then for stat boost, we're going to go with our attack boost, because we're already boosting their defense. We're not going to boost their defense even further. And then we're going to go with basic stat boost. So this is 20% compared to the 25% from the defense boost right here. So artifact of choice, we're going to go with the Steamrolly artifact, which is our Valiant Horn right here, together with our Mighty Echo. No, not Mighty Echo, sorry. Healing Hub. Yeah, we need to buy those additional times with the Iron Almost Bonnie burst teams. So this is the quick burst. So that was basically that was a team that I was putting in earlier. It is the exact same team that I did, I'll say, like for the past 2 days in terms of the burst team. So if you have this unit, use them. Let me just put my iron in. Sorry for the mouse clicks if it's a little bit too loud. Okay, and without further ado, let's showcase this team. Okay, so the good thing about iron armors and Ardent Burst is you basically hold the Smoky in place, because Smoky's healing is actually quite impactful. So having all this control is good to reduce the healing from just Smoky alone, right? With regards to the other units itself, you can see that my range units are having a tougher time to deal damage, but because we have all these control units, right, holding the enemy in place, even if our range units, they're dealing less damage, with all the controls to prevent the enemies from doing anything, right, even if they get a boosted attack, they're still gonna die, right? So this is where the control burst is there. Okay, so we're gonna go 2 times. We're pretty much done with all the backliners and done with the battle. Okay, so this is with a full Supreme Plus team, with my Lily May being a little bit stronger. But right, if you don't have that strong of a Lily May, what you can do, we're going to take out Lady May for this one. We're just going to put in another Wilders. Pheromone's a very recent addition, which I think is insanely good as well, right? You can also use our Lawson at 1 copy, because Lawson has like that heal as well as that buff in his kit. So fits into the burst with a little bit of sustain as well. So let's start the battle. The main damage dealer is still going to be Bonnie as well as Arden right here. OD team might not work, because against the opposing OD team with more defensive buff, it's not gonna be that good for your team. I think the best way to deal with models in general is just your Iron Armor's Arden, because if you're able to prevent this guy from channeling the aroma, the subsequent steamrolling for OD as well as the speed up for Coco's ultimate will come a lot later, right? So once Coco's ultimate comes online, then the opponent team is super duper hard to deal with. So this is why we go with all the more offensive buffs, and then we go the control route to hold the enemy in place. Okay, so hopefully I think this quick guide works for you guys. I think these units, they're pretty common and most people should have them, and I hope you guys clear your 3,200 points. I'll still be on the holidays, but if I have time, if I see the comments and I'm have the mood to reply, I'll reply to you guys. Okay, so that's it. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.